Welcome to Techlearners. Today we will talk about the selection statement in Java, that is switch statement. In the previous two lectures we talked about if selection statement and if else selection statement. Switch is a menu driving programming construct that can be used with the selection statement as a selection statement. So let's see the syntax of the switch. In the syntax, first we write the switch keyword, and then inside the brackets we have to use a switching choice variable. Depending upon, we define different cases. So we use the case keyword and then the value. This is suffixed by colon, and then we use the statements which we want to execute inside this case. In the end of the all statements, we use a break statement to exit from this particular case. In the similar manner, we can define multiple cases, as many cases as we want. So for example, here we can see that this is case number 2, and then the statements that are associated with the case number 2, and in the end of each case we use the break statement. In the end, we use a default case also. We will discuss this later in this video. And with the default case, we also use some statements, and in the end we use the break statement to exit from this particular case, switch case. So there are few things associated with the switch construct, with the switch selection statement. What are these? One, the choice of the switching variable restrictions. So the choice variable restriction, it can only be a byte, a short, int, a char, a string, or enum. It cannot be a float or double. Next is whether the break is important in all the case. It is non-mandatory, but yes, it is advisable. If we do not use a break in any case, then we go to the fall through conditions. We will discuss this into this video. The next is whether default is mandatory. No, it is also non-mandatory, but it is advisable for a good programming. Then what should be the position of default case? Whether it should always be written in the end? No, it does not matter where you are writing the default case, but it is always advisable that you write your default case in the end. And now, what should be the sequence of the cases? Does it matter? No, the sequence of cases does not matter into the switch case. So let's see into the program. So here I have a simple program that is based on the switch case. So let's talk about this simple program that is based on switch case. Right, so this is the keyword switch. Inside the brackets we will use the variable on which we want to apply our choices. For example, here the variable is int, integer variable. We have already talked about the restrictions, that what variables we can use here: int, short, byte, char, and string only. So let's say we have defined three cases here. The case 1, in which we have written some statements. In the end of the case 1, we have used the break to exit from the switch case. Then the case 2, the statements of case 2, then break to exit. Then case 3, statements of case 3, then break to exit, and in the end a default case. So these are the statements associated to the default case, and again in the end a break statement to exit from the switch. Now this switching variable, the type of this switching variable should match the value we are defining in front of cases. So if this is integer, then this value should also be integer. This value should also be an integer. This value should also be an integer. So this is the compatibility. Now let's see, let us execute this switch case and see what happens. So we are switching the choice variable. Let's see, the value of the choice variable currently is 1. So what should happen? The case 1 should be executed, and after the execution of these statement it will encounter a break, and we will get out of the switch case without going into in any other case. So we will directly come out and this statement will be executed. So let's see, we run the program and see the output. So you can see the value was 1, so the statements inside the case 1 are executed and directly it comes out of the switch case. Let's see, if I change the value of this choice variable from 1 to 2, what will happen? So now this is 2, so the value of the choice variable is 2, so this choice variable is 2, then should directly go to case number 2. The statements of case number 2 should be executed. After that, break will be encountered and we will get out of the switch statement directly. Now let's compile this and see the output. So you can see the case 2 is executed and then we directly get out of the switch statement. Let's see what other variables, what other options we can use. Let me change this data type from int to char. In that case, we need to initialize with the single quote. So now we'll have to define our cases also in single quotes. This is the requirement of the char representation. So all the 3 cases will be in the single quote. So now the data type has been changed. This is a char, so we will define all the cases into the char. Now let's compile this and close this and then we'll execute. So the second case will be executed, right? So we have seen that this can be operated with an int variable, can be operated with a char variable. Now let's try a string. So if we use a string, as you know that the string is always enclosed into double quote. So let me write a hello. Then the cases should also be like string. Let's say this is hello, and now let me write here again hello. Remember, this hello is different from this hello because the H here it is a small and here it is capital, and Java is a case sensitive language and it consider capital H and small h as different. So let me write the case number 3. So this is the case number 3. So now let me execute. See what should happen. The choice variable has the value hello. Now it should match with this case and these statements should be executed. Now let's check what happens. So we compiled it and then on execution, so we say right, this is the first case that is executed. So we have seen that we can use the switching variable as int, as char and string. You can also try with byte, short and other. So remember, it cannot be used with floating variables. Let me show. If I use a float variable, then what will happen? So 2.2f. Now the error, incompatible type, possible lossy conversion from float to int. So float variable is not allowed. Similarly, double variable is also not allowed. So let me change it back to the integer value and let me redefine the cases with the integer values. Then we will discuss our next points that are related with the switch case. So this is we are back. Let me show you. So we had discussed that it can only be used with byte, short, int, char, string. Now break is non-mandatory. So let me show you what will happen if I don't use a break. So let me show you. Let me eliminate this break statement from case number 2. Now if the choice is 1, then what will happen? It will match this case, execute these statements, a break will encounter and we'll get out of the switch. Let me compile and show you. So if the choice was 1, then remember the case 1 executed and we are out of the switch. Now if the choice variable have value 2, so if this is 2, then what should happen? Case number 2 should be matched and these statements should be executed. Hold on, now there is no break statement, so we'll enter into the case 3. Basically this is a fall through condition, so we will fall through the next case. Now the case 2, the statements of case 2 will be executed, as well as the statements of case 3 will be executed, and this will keep falling until we encounter a break statement. So now these two statements and these two statements will be executed, and once we encounter the break statement, then we'll come out of the switch case and this statement will be executed. So now let me compile and execute and show you the output. You can see this is, you choose 2 inside case 2, you choose 2, and we are fallen through into case 3. So this is the fall through condition. That is why the break is important. So we had seen that break is mandatory, not advisable, but it is advisable, and if we'll not use a break, then we will occur with the fall through condition. The next is default. So whether default is mandatory, we should always use default, or we can eliminate. Now what is the use of the default? Basically default case is executed when we or a user chooses a value for which the cases are not defined. So here the cases are defined for 1, for 2 and for 3. Let's see, if I choose case 5, then as we have not defined any case for 5, then automatically this default case will be executed. So let me compile and show you. So you can see you choose 5 and please choose from the valid option. So this is the default case. So any other value entered except 1, 2 and 3, we will have a default case in place. So now if we'll not use this default case, what will happen? So let me comment this default case. Right, so if we'll not use this default case, then if I compile this, we'll execute and we are directly out of the switch statement, and we will not know what happened actually. So we will be confused. So we will tell the user that we have not chosen from the cases or from the options given, so please choose. So this is a better way of giving the user a message that you have not chosen from the available option, please choose from the available option. So this is always advisable that you use default case. So we have seen that default is non-mandatory, but it is advisable. Next, the position of default. So position of default does not matter. It will not matter if you define this default case in the end or you define this default case in the beginning or somewhere else. It will behave same. So let me show you. If I'll choose case number 2, so it will execute case number 2. Right, so this is the case number 2, and fall through, due to fall through condition, the case number 3 is also executing. So the position of default does not matter, but for a better readability, it is always advisable that you use the default case in the end. One more thing, the last thing, that whether the sequence of cases matter. I have written here the cases in sequence, like I have defined case 1, in case 2 and then case 3. So if I put this case up before the case number 1, what will happen? Will it make any effect? No, it will not make any effect. So it depends on the choice what you will choose. If you will choose 2, then see what should happen. It should match case 2. These statements will be executed, and as there is no break, then we will fall through, we will enter into the default case also. So let me compile and show you that these statements will be executed. So here we compile and execute. So you can see the case number 2 and then the default case. That is why the break is important. So this is all about switch cases. I hope you have understood the switch case well. Try experimenting with the things, try using different values, try using different variables, and then you will be expert into the switch case. For any confusions, any queries, feel free to comment. Keep tuning, keep watching the videos and subscribe the channel. Thank you so much.